If you've been anywhere near the Bridgerton internet this week, you've probably seen all the comments under Francesca's promotions. Like, there is a lot of excitement for sure, but there's also a lot of like, no one wants this, bring back Michael, I am boycotting, etc. All this because of one scene. At the end of season 3, Francesca's husband introduces her to his cousin.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce
Michaela Stirling. I caution you. Every sordid detail John has spoken about me is a lie. The truth is power.
And somehow that scene was enough for people to decide that the show has already ruined her story. Personally, I loved that they gender bend Francesca's love just Michael, and I was really excited, enough so to read my first Bridgerton novel, When He Was Wicked, which is Francesca's story. And after reading it, I really have to say that a lot of the things that people are claiming about Francesca's story simply aren't true. They're not in the book. Hi, I'm Sydney, and today I want to talk about why I think the show might be doing this exactly right. The only scene that we have so far from season 3, where Francesca and Michaela are together, is a more fleshed out version of how they also meet in the book. So in the book it's described as this. In every life there is a turning point. A moment so tremendous, so sharp and breathtaking that one knows one's life will never be the same. For Michael Stirling, London's most infamous rake, that moment came the first time he laid eyes on Francesca Bridgerton. Unfortunately for Michael, however, Francesca's surname was to remain Bridgerton for only a mere 36 hours longer. The occasion of their meeting was, lamentably, a supper celebrating her imminent wedding to his cousin. So in the show it looks like Michaela just assumed that the woman standing directly in front of John is his wife, but that was actually Eloise. And so when she asks, "And you must be," and finds out that actually Francesca is his cousin's wife, you can see that she's like hiding her disappointment, or trying to.
And you must be?
Well, I'm Francesca Bridgerton. Kilmartin. Kilmartin is my name now.
And then in trying to answer Michaela's question, Francesca stumbles over her own name in a way that feels connected to the scene at the beginning of the episode.
I could barely speak my own name. I was so taken by him. I stumbled over words most familiar.
I thought we had moved past this.
Francesca's immediate attraction to Michaela is not a betrayal of the book. This is something that a lot of people get wrong. Francesca does notice Michael even when she is with John. This doesn't mean that she like recognizes it as attraction or like is pursuing Michael or anything like that, but the attraction is definitely there. These are Francesca's early descriptions of Michael from chapter 2. He looked so handsome in the moonlight. Surely there was no woman who could resist him, not with that perfect face and tall, muscular body. And also, he turned to her and grinned. It was wicked and devilish, and she understood why half the ton, the female half that was, fancied themselves in love with him. And also when they're alone together, like in that scene, their conversation is quite openly flirtatious. So still in chapter 2, Francesca says, "Tell me about something wicked then, something John would not approve of."
That is a scandalous question.
He says he doesn't have anything wicked to tell her about from this week. And when he suggests that they go home, she tries it again. She says, "This is just your way of telling me you have a woman waiting for you, probably draped in nothing but the sheets on her bed." So, as you can see, the idea that Francesca was blind to Michael until after John's death isn't supported by the book. What is supported by the book is that she loved John dearly, but that she still noticed Michael. And if anyone tries to tell you otherwise, that is a media literacy issue, trust me. So, kind of on a similar note, people have taken issue with the fact that Francesca seems more into Michaela than she does her own husband, and also that her love for John isn't portrayed as passionate enough. This is a moment that a lot of people point to Francesca's skeptical look. There isn't a lot of groundwork in any of the Bridgerton books to judge Francesca and John's relationship by. John is a minor character in the books. He doesn't have an appearance in any of the other Bridgerton books. And in Francesca's book, he definitely haunts the narrative, but he's only present for the first chapter and already dead by chapter 2. So that's why we learn very little about him as a person, or we don't get a lot of details about them as a couple. For example, there's no recollection of them courting, of Francesca and John's wedding, of her and John's first kiss. Those were all the scenes that the show added, which obviously gave them a lot of leeway and a lot of creative freedom in how they wanted to do that. What is clear from the books, and I would argue also from the show, is that Francesca loved John very much. In chapter 2, Francesca describes him as her kindred spirit. He understood her, he anticipated her, he completed her. It had been the oddest sensation when she'd met him, almost as if she were a jagged puzzle piece finally finding its mate. The other time when we're explicitly told about their relationship is in chapter 17. We found out that Francesca and John's sexual relationship could be defined as one of laughter and passion, but also that what she feels for Michael, the desire and the attraction, are much stronger. If the show's portraying Francesca's love for John as deep, but perhaps less passionate than the one with Michael, then that's entirely aligned with the book. So yes, it would be a change if they portrayed her love for John as purely platonic, because I feel like that's not how it is in the book. But I do think that that could also be a very interesting perspective for a Regency romance, because I imagine that a lot of women married men that they deeply liked, but without really understanding that what their friends felt for their husbands might go like beyond that, and also that they themselves are also maybe capable of something very different if marrying a woman, for example, had been presented as an option. So I feel like that would be a really like fresh and unique perspective to bring that into the show. And I don't think that it would change the story too much, because the book isn't about John in that way. It's the love story of Francesca and Michael. So honestly, if Francesca only feels platonically for John in the show, then I don't mind. I don't think it's a big deal, and I don't think that's the core of her story. I feel like the core of her story is really like finding love a second time, or like maybe like love finding one a second time. And then also it's about grief and about Francesca allowing herself to be happy again after losing someone so important to her. And yeah. I've been seeing the term emotional cheating being thrown around a lot. Well, apart from the fact that the most liked Bridgerton season is the one which has the most prominent emotional cheating arc out of all of them, and the fact that all of them kind of have this to an extent, I'm just not sure what to make of that. Obviously, there's no way to know where the writers are going with this, but so far it sounds like Francesca's avoiding Michaela like the plague, like she doesn't want to even speak her name, you know?
Scotland was becoming a touch overcrowded, what with me and John and Eloise and John's cousin.
And it's also funny that Francesca is saying, you know, Scotland is so overcrowded, whereas Eloise is like, there's no one to talk to.
If you ever find yourself in the Highlands, you may be forced to converse with the livestock. There are not nearly enough people in Scotland.
And I feel like this situation is also probably complicated by the fact that Francesca might not even know that liking women is an option, so she has no way of placing the things that she's feeling and like categorizing them as attraction. She might think the reason she gets all flustered around Michaela is because she doesn't like her.
Why is it that you dislike me so?
Because you vex me!
And yeah, what I'm saying, it depends on your definition of emotional cheating, but I feel like there's nothing wrong with having a crush. There's nothing morally wrong about that. So next up is the big question: does the infertility plotline work with Michaela? Well, I mean, lesbians are unfortunately extremely familiar with the pain of not being able to have biological children with their partners. But even besides that, infertility defines Francesca's relationship with John much more than it does her relationship with Michael. When she doubts that she can conceive, that's rooted in her relationship with John and her experience with that. You know, the fact that she didn't get pregnant despite trying for 2 years, and then when she did, she unfortunately miscarried. I feel like Michael becoming Michaela doesn't impact this part of the story, so I expect that they'll keep it the exact same in the show. So here's where it gets a little tricky. Francesca does want a child. It's actually like the main reason that she re-enters the marriage mart and wants to find a husband, not for love, not for companionship even, but mostly just to give her a child. I would be very surprised if they changed that because it's such a driving force for the plot. And personally, I do want to see a jealous, angsty Michaela, you know, watching Francesca get swarmed by suitors at the ball. Ideally to Like I Can by Sam Smith. And I feel like here the gender bend actually has the potential to make everything even more tragic. Like, it gives Michaela another reason not to tell Francesca that she has feelings for her, because Francesca is looking for a companion, a partner, but she's not looking for anything that Michaela can offer, you know, love, passion, happiness. She's looking for the one thing that Michaela can't give her, children.
Oh my God, my Shayla!
Now, it is part of Francesca's happy ending in the epilogue that Michael and her have 2 children. And yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work out, if that's gonna be part of her TV happy ending. But as I said, I don't feel like it's the point of her story. And I think it might be more interesting to resolve her infertility plotline, not through fertility, but through like finding alternate frameworks and I don't know, just like finding happiness even if the future doesn't look exactly like what you thought it was gonna be. Don't mind the little outfit change, guys. I got spaghetti on my other sweater. But yeah, another moment where fertility directly drives the plot is when Michael proposes to Francesca and she rejects him. So at the time, she doesn't fully understand why she says no, but as the story goes on, you can understand that this like refusal is tangled up in grief. For her, accepting Michael's proposal would mean moving on from Joe in a way, and that felt like a betrayal to her. Unfortunately, this is also where When He Was Wicked takes a turn that aged poorly. Michael doesn't take the no for an answer, but he becomes very persistent instead. He kind of tries strategy after strategy to convince Francesca to change her mind. And the worst of these strategies by far is the seduction plot. Basically, the idea is that if he can compromise her, then she has to marry him.
A good plan, is it not? Well, certainly an intriguing one.
Yeah, quick content warning here for sexual coercion and dubious consent. The book is written in dual POV, so we're always told afterwards that Francesca, even though she didn't like say it or she didn't act like it, she did actually want this to happen. But what it reads like is Michael is like pursuing her, even though she's shaking her head, she's like moving away. Even if she isn't saying no, she's like not saying yes. He's like explicitly thinking that it would be easier if she wasn't thinking clear enough to ask any questions.
Oh my God, bro.
And also at one point he reflects that if he were colder, he would just continue with this without giving her the space to say no. Before adding that he could never be that ruthless, not with Francesca. And that kind of raises the question, like, could you be that ruthless with someone else, Michael? Like, what's happening?
Oh, hell no.
What makes it worse is that the narrative is always on Michael's side about this. Francesca's refusals are framed as irrational, and Michael is kind of being treated as if he knows what's best for her, and he's like the better judge of her best interest because Francesca's just confused and she's emotional. But ultimately, clearly they should end up together, so what Michael does is good.
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
I could go into detail of this. I actually wrote like an essay about this, so let me know if you want me to make another YouTube video essay of sorts, or if you just want me to put the essay on Substack. It's a little academic. It's called When Refusal Is Not an Option, Desire and Gendered Power in When He Was Wicked. Anyways, after all that, Francesca surprises Michael by still not agreeing to marry him. The only condition on which she would marry him is if she got pregnant from this. And you would think Michael's finally like, damn, like not even social compromise will get her to marry me. I guess I should give up. But no, he doubles down.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
I really hope that the show just leaves that entire seduction plotline out and like finds something else, because I don't know what it was like meant to be at the time, but I feel like it just reads really coercive and like just like icky now. There is a lot from the book that I hope that the show adapts in a way, and like for example within this plotline there is a scene that I really like where Francesca goes for a long walk and it starts to rain like 2 hours in, and then Michael has to come, like he finds her in the rain and he's like trying to get her into shelter in this tiny little gardener's cottage, you know, forced proximity, only one bed, like all the good stuff. I just want Francesca's reason to be mad at Michael in that scene, or like to be mad at Michaela in that scene, to not be about the seduction plotline. Okay, and then I have one more point, which is that I feel like a lot of the quotes from the book actually lend themselves especially well for a queer adaptation. Michael's self-hatred for being attracted to Francesca and feeling like he shouldn't be obviously gets a whole different dimension when it's Michaela being attracted to Francesca. He stopped going to church entirely because there seemed no point now in even contemplating prayer for his soul. And if God ever wanted to smite a sinner, he couldn't do better than Michael Stirling. Francesca also keeps thinking of her desire for Michael as wicked, until the moment when she realizes that she's in love with him. Michael, she loved Michael, not just as a friend, but as a husband and lover. She loved him with the depth and intensity she'd felt for John. It was different because they were different men, and she was different now too, but it was also the same. It was the love of a woman for a man, and it filled every corner of her heart. And I feel like this would also make sense in a sapphic context, obviously with a few words switched. And lastly, I hope this one makes it into Francesca's love confession, maybe. There's the moment where she thinks, this thing between them, this bond, it wasn't just passion and it wasn't wicked. It was love and it was divine. I feel like that's very powerful material for a queer love confession. So I would just advise everyone to keep an open mind. If you have beef with the showrunners, don't bully any cast members. We'll all see where the show goes with these two, and I feel like there's not much point in, like, I don't know, criticizing it before it's even happening. And I know that some people are literally gonna tune into Bridgerton for the first time because of them. And I think that their season's gonna be far more book accurate than some of you guys might think. There will be changes, but changes are necessary to adapt this story from the 2000s in today's framework. Yeah, you made it all the way to the end. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. This was actually my first YouTube video ever, so if you have any feedback, etc., let me know, and I would appreciate like a comment, a follow, whatever, to motivate me to keep going. Bye!